Hi everyone, well with this beautiful background behind me, I'm going to do a video about something I've been wanting to do for ages, and that's talk about binoculars. So I've been driving around looking for a spot to do this, and I mean, could it get any better than this? That's the Toowoomba Range behind me in Redwood Park. That's a park that we successfully saved from a whole lot of mountain bike tracks a couple of years ago. So it's a really beautiful special area this, so great spot for talking about binoculars. Now, this is a topic that I see come up a lot in people's, I've got a bag of tricks down here, I start pulling them out. I often see people asking about binoculars and the best way to use them and so on. So I've brought about four different sets of binoculars here, and we'll just go through them all. So this is the pair that I use mainly. I don't know why, but the trend now is to have soft cases for binoculars, which I think is a bit mad, but anyway, that's what it is. So these ones here are my Nikons, and I bought these a couple of years ago, and these are pretty much your standard binoculars where the light passes through two prisms. That's why there's a kink in this. So the light comes in here, bounces off a prism there, down to another one there, and up through there. And the reason why it does that is you've got to imagine that it's like a telescope, and the greater distance you have between the front lens and the back, or the back lens and the front lens, depending which way you look at it, the greater distance you have between the two lenses, the greater the magnification. And so they kind of extend the distance by having it bounce between the prisms. But the downside of that is that you actually lose a bit of light. That's why it's important to have a very large objective here. It lets more light in. Now these are 10 by 42 Nikon Aculons, and I reckon that they're just fantastic value for money. So, you know, you do get what you pay for. You can get cheap, crappy ones, prism binoculars, or you can get super mega expensive ones. And the main difference is in the quality of the lens elements here. Now, you get a thing called chromatic aberration, which I'll show you a clip of it here. This was actually with the camera. So if you see there's like a blue or a purple halo or edging around the images when you're on full zoom. Now the reason why that happens is that imperfections in the actual shape of the lens means that different wavelengths or frequencies of light get bent incorrectly, so they don't all converge in the same point. So the higher quality that the glass is, or the lens is, the less chromatic aberration you get. And these have a very tiny amount. It's basically unnoticeable. So the really high-end binoculars won't have any chromatic aberration. It just means that the different colors in the light wavelength are being not all focused on the same spot, and so that's why you get that kind of bluer halo. Now, so these are your standard kind of prism binoculars. I'm very happy with this pair, but the alternative that you're seeing a lot of now are the compact binoculars, and this is a pair of compact binoculars that I have, and these are also the same magnification. These are 10 times magnification, and the difference here is I think the front end is only 25 millimeters, so whereas these are 42. So these don't let in as much light, and that does have a bit of an effect. The image quality isn't as bright, and means that you know, you can't see the subject or the bird as well as you normally would. But it's really a matter of what do you need them for. Now, these ones here are quite heavy. That's the downside about them. These here, I haven't actually weighed them, but they probably only weigh about, I don't know, 20% of what these weigh. So these ones are very portable and handy to have on you. I keep these in my car. When I'm bird watching, I usually use these ones. So it's really up to you what you want. But again, you do get what you pay for. And the reason why these can be 10 times magnification, but the distance between the front and the end isn't as great as it is here with the prism arrangement, the reason why they can do that is the actual lenses themselves are stronger, or they magnify to a greater degree than the lenses in these ones do. And again, that's got more risk of chromatic aberration. So look, you get what you pay for. If your main aim is just to not break your neck by having something around your neck for a couple of hours, and just to get a look at the bird, then these are fine. But to me, I prefer these. Now, just the weight's a bit of an issue, but I kind of get used to them. I've got a bit of an eyesight problem. It's nothing major, but I have astigmatism, and I certainly prefer a brighter image than what these give me. But I like the portability of these, so that's why I keep these in the car. And I have gone birding with these, but I just prefer the brighter image that you get with these. So they both have the same magnification. This is 10 by 42. 42 is the millimeter diameter here of this lens. These are 10 by 25, so that's 25 across there. So they don't let as much light in, but they're still quite useful. And you can get compact binoculars that are worth a couple of grand. And I presume that the glass in them is absolutely perfect. The other thing too, the quality of the lens, you also lose light with that as well. So the ones that are worth a couple of $1,000, the light transmission would be very high in those ones. And so with these, you've got lots of places you can lose light, the two lenses as well as the two prisms, but it's kind of offset because you've got a lot more light to begin with in here. So they're the two different kinds of binoculars. Now, there's a couple of features that they both have in common, and when you come to use them, obviously focusing is a big deal. They both have the focus ring in the middle. Now, if you have an eyesight problem like I do, if you look on and both of these binoculars have it, this is what's called a diopter, and you'll see there's just a plus symbol. I think it goes +1, 2 and -1, 2. And this allows you to adjust the binoculars to try and offset any eye condition that you have. So you can actually look through binoculars with glasses on. It means the image is a lot smaller. It will actually, I've found it will be sharper, but it's not as good. I prefer having these right up against my eyes. So for me, the best way to compensate is I put this on the +2 all the way over to the right hand side. Interestingly, on these, that would be -2, because they kind of do it the other way around, but still to the right. I twist them that way. And so in order to test that, you just set the mark back there to 0, look at an object in the distance, focus on it as well as you can, get the best focus that you can, and then try so leave that focus there, then try looking at it again with the diopter adjusted. So move the diopter each way, and then have another look, and that way you'll see what's the best setting for you. The other thing which I noticed too is that this transport mechanism here, you see as I turn the little focus adjuster there, both these sides go up in unison. Now, if you find that you're having trouble focusing, and you can start to see there, this side's going up more than that side, this little nut on the top here, if that gets loose, it won't, you can see it happening now, it won't pull both of these in parallel, and that will create focus issues. You can see how one side's going up before the other. So I'm constantly having to tighten that, and when that's tight there, these two move perfectly in parallel. So that gets rid of the focus issue. So if you're having trouble focusing, just check that nut up the top there is as tight as it can be. Now these eye cups, you can have them all the way down or all the way out. It's just a matter of personal preference. I actually like having just a little bit of space, so I keep mine out like that. They tend to gunk up a bit with sand and things, so they do require cleaning. Cleaning your binoculars regularly is an important thing. You can just use lens cleaning fluid as you would for a camera, just to clean the ends, just clean out sand, try and keep them in good working order. Now, the only thing I would warn against with these binoculars is dropping them. I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to drop anything anyway, but the prisms can get knocked out of alignment, and that happened to me with these probably about 3 months after I bought them. They just fell off a small box onto a cement floor, and that knocked one of the prisms out, and that gave me a double vision, and that just drove me crazy. I can't remember what I paid for these. Might have been $140 or $150 or something. It was pretty good value for money actually, but a repair was like $300, and I thought, well, I've only just got them. I'm not going to spend that amount of money or get rid of these and buy a brand new pair. So I thought, well, okay, I'm going to go about trying to repair them. So I looked online. There weren't very many tutorials that really answered what I needed. So I disassembled them myself. So these parts will come off, but the bit that I had to get to was the prism. So I had to cut, I don't like pulling it out now, but you can see here I cut the rubber case to allow me to take the tops off inside here and get the prisms out. Now I could work out which prism was out just because there's people bushwalking down behind me. I could work out which prism was out because it was just sitting out of its bracket just a little bit. So I managed to put it back in, I glued it, reassembled everything. Then I had a look through these, and the image I was getting was cloudy. There was no longer a double image, but it was cloudy. And that meant that I'd smudged it. Now, if you ever pull binoculars apart, all I can say is they are full of all sorts of lubricant in there. There's all sorts of moving parts, and you've just got to be so careful you don't accidentally get some of that on you, and then if you're adjusting the prisms, if you actually put that onto a prism. So I had to pull the whole thing apart again. Then I cleaned the prisms really well, which was quite hard to do, put it back together, and now they're perfect. So yeah, so look after them, keep them clean. I think one day someone might actually invent contact lenses for or corrective, like lens caps, or lenses that can kind of click on the end there. But until then, your options are do the best you can with the diopter. Well, you can wear them with glasses, but it's too much fiddling, and so I just bushwalk. I only really need the glasses for reading, but so I'll bushwalk without them, and the focus I get here is pretty good anyway. So that's a few tips on how to look after these binoculars. In terms of using them in the field, the best thing to do is, so there's a tree, in fact there's a hollow in that tree over there. So if I just keep my eyesight lined up with there, and then basically just kind of put my binoculars, lift the binoculars up into that line, I'll be fairly close to the item that I'm looking at. And another tip too is if you're, depending on the kind of bush you're in, you can set the focal distance pretty close to where you're likely to see birds. So I'm here in this park, there's lots of trees there that are probably about 30 meters away. So if I get one in focus, which I have here, any birds I see around there, I'm not going to have to move the focus too much to be able to adjust. So depending on what kind of terrain you're going through, you can focus on something at the appropriate distance for the birds you're going to be seeing in that area, and then you won't have too much adjusting to do when you see a bird that's a little bit closer, a little bit further away. So these are pretty good binoculars. The only problem I have is the weight, but that's a trade-off. So yeah, so I'm happy with them. Now these are 10 times. You can get more powerful binoculars, and someone gave me these quite a while ago actually, and these are 20 times 50. So this is double the magnification of the last ones. Now I haven't used these because these actually have a prism knocked out, and I haven't got round to adjusting it yet, but it has all the features of normal binoculars. There's a diopter there, focus in the middle, but again in a soft case. I don't know whatever happened to hard cases. When I was a kid they were all hard cases. So just comparing, and I'm just going to look through one eye because of the double image here. There's a very big double image, obviously that's right out. Yeah, just comparing, I can definitely see the difference between these and the other ones in the magnification. But the problem with stronger magnification on binoculars is that the wobbles are all accentuated. And so if you think about it, the larger you make the image to see, the smaller the part of the glass is that you're looking at. So you've also got an issue with chromatic aberration. That's why you get it like with a camera on very long zooms. It just magnifies imperfections, but also it magnifies the wobble. Now holding a pair of binoculars still, like perfectly still, is really hard. Obviously you can mount some on a tripod, but generally only up to about 10 times magnification is what you need for these normal prism binoculars. If you want to go higher, do it, but it's going to be harder just keeping the image completely still. Now, I suppose one thing you can do is lean against trees and things like that, and I do that a lot for my filming, and I also get a lot more ticks than everyone else in my bird group, so I think there's a reason for that, and that is stabilizing yourself on plants is not always a good idea. So yeah, look, I mean, my advice is I would stick around 10 times, but I guess I haven't used these too much, but generally that's what people go up to, 10 times magnification. First binoculars I had when I was a kid, I saved up and bought 4. They were 8 by 30 Tascam, and I used them until they fell apart, and I chucked them. I wish I kept them. I chucked them when I was a teenager, but would have been fun to try and rebuild them now. So if you want greater magnification than this, this is where we get into the realm of telescopes. Now, another type of scope that's used a lot for this is a spotting scope. This is actually my grandfather's one. So this is an older design. In his retirement, he had a boat and he lived in some high-rise units, and he used to have this on his balcony on a telescope so he could look out at the sea and see if it was worth going out that day. So it's got this little lens hood, which is pretty cool. And this is 50 times magnification, and I've been thinking I might be able to get another element there to even increase the magnification. But this is to be mounted on a telescope, and you get ones like this now with another prism, and the end piece bends up so you can just look over the top and it's easier to look down than having to kind of get behind it. But these are good for when the birds aren't going to move a lot. So what birds don't move a lot? Water birds. So these are very useful if you're going looking for birds by the water, or a nest, or something where things are a bit more static. Being a 50 times zoom, you're looking at a much smaller area, generally, unless it's a long way away on a lake or something. But trying to hold this still by hand would be really, really hard. I mean, yeah, there's a fair bit of wobble there, but you can certainly get a good enough look at a bird to identify it. But these are best only for tripods. Now, this also brings me to another thing, a monocular. So this actually belongs to my wife. Now this, and I don't actually know the magnification on this. It's not super strong. Yeah, it's probably about 10 or a bit under. Now this is very light and very easy to carry with you. You would only use this just to get a look and to identify something. You're not going to get you're not going to have a very long or enjoyable look. And again, just with one hand, well, I suppose you can use 2 hands there, but it's harder to keep. Yeah, you definitely need 2 hands to try and keep that steady. But this is a good alternative if you don't want the weight of large binoculars or the price of those compact binoculars. They tend to be a little bit expensive still, and I think that's because of the work that has to go into the lens elements in them to make them good enough to give you that kind of magnification at such a short distance. So this is basically a single one of them, I suppose. So that's a monocular. Yeah, look at that, almost exactly the same length. And of course you're not going to get stereo vision, but anyway, you're just trying to have a quick peek, I guess. So it's pretty compact, and you focus it by twisting it. And part of the key to enjoying binoculars is just getting them so, it's like a camera. You need to get it down to where you automatically and intuitively know all the adjustments you need. So if you want to film a bird quickly, you really need to be able to get everything right on your camera right away. And likewise with binoculars, if you want to look. So I know if something's further away, I push the focus knob to the right. If I know if it's closer, I'll push it to the left. And I know if the focus is not responding adequately, I know this is probably loose at the top. So you just need to be able to automatically, without thinking, adjust all these things on the fly. And you can do some cool tricks with binoculars, right? So holding mobile phones up to them does actually work. And I know there are brackets that are designed to go around the ends of telescopes to mount mobile phones against them. And I haven't bought one of those brackets, but I think they'd be a great idea because lining it up perfectly is quite hard. But you can get some pretty cool results. So have a look at this. This is on the stormwater outfall at Kirra Beach down on the southern end of the Gold Coast, and this is Eastern Osprey just having a bath in the fresh water. And I was walking past on the beach and all I had was these binoculars and a mobile phone. So I held the phone up to the binoculars and the image is not too bad. But, you know, a little bit wobbly and shaky, and how's your father? So then when I got it back and just played with it a bit on Premiere and put an image stabilizer on it, yeah, the result's not too bad. It's not as good as a native camera, but it's pretty good. And likewise, you can do the same, you know, with these spotting scopes. So if you have a look here, this is a yellowtail black cockatoo doing a bit of a, excavation around a potential nesting hollow there. And I had the telescope on my back deck lined up, just locked onto that tree. And I tried to just film it with a mobile phone one day. And again, not perfect, but still, you know, you record the event and it's, you know, it's not too bad. So. Interestingly though, this has the same magnification 50 times as my little camera. This has 50 times optical and 90 times digital. And I don't really know how they do that in here yet. I'd like to see an exploded diagram of the lens arrangement in here, because it's certainly not done by the distance between the front and the end element. And this of course has a prism in it as well, so it's the distance is actually a little bit longer. It's got two prisms, I should say. But I think these ones do it by having, again, a lens with a much greater magnifying power, which means the manufacturing's got to be a lot better on these lenses because imperfections are going to show up. And yeah, I do get a small amount of chromatic aberration when I'm up to that full zoom. It goes up to 90 digital, but I try and stay out of that. The bitrate and the codec kind of look a bit soft, particularly in low light, but if I stay within the optical zoom, it's quite good. So yeah, the thicker the lens, I think, the more curved, the greater the magnification, but then the greater the chance of imperfections. So you know, they've done quite a good job to make this as powerful as this, and this weighs so much less as well. So anyway, look, that's a wrap up on binoculars and lenses and things. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments. Just to wrap up, for me, best quality image, I like these. These don't hurt my neck, so they're good. And yeah, look, I'll get in and repair these. I may even do a video about it. We'll see. It looks like the access points are pretty good on that. Yeah, the prisms are generally clipped in, and so they can move if they get jolted. Obviously one's very largely out of alignment here. There's quite a distance between the two images. And this is actually lighter than this one as well. So I'm not quite sure about the lens quality. But anyway, so if you have any questions about binoculars, just let me know. Keep them clean, look after them, and they'll look after you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day, everyone. See ya. Bye. Now, as I'm packing up, because it looks like it's going to rain again, I just thought of one last thing quickly, which I didn't mention. Now, you notice the end of this monocular is got that funny orange coating on it. Now, that doesn't actually change the colour. That's to reduce glare. And glare is a problem when you get light that it's not in the field of view of what you're looking at. So it could be something from another angle that hits, and it can pick up like specks of dust. With filmmaking, you call it a lens flare. or even if there's scratches on the lens. Anyway, it can create artifacts in the image or just make it look hazy. And so the purpose of a lens coating like this is to reduce glare, so it gives you a clearer image. Now, another way that you can do that is the lens hood, which I didn't actually mention when I was looking at my grandfather's old spotting scope here. So his lens, it has actually got a bit of a hood on it there, but you can pull this out further, and so that just creates more of a protection around the front element of the lens there, and it just means less incidental light is going to be able to make its way in and hit that. So the only light that comes in is just the area that you're looking at. So lens hoods are a way to counteract that, or a lens coating like on that binocular. If you look at your standard binoculars, there's not actually a huge amount of a hood there. You can still get incidental light coming in. So that's what that's all about. And actually on my camera, I don't have it with me here, but you'll see there's two bits of white stuff there. This camera, the way they've designed it is there's no thread at the front. Now, little camcorders, a 37mm was the standard thread size, and I've got a little lens hood off another camera that would screw in, but I actually glued it on here with a silicone glue. Obviously it broke off, but I'm going to re-glue it. That was just a storage issue. But yeah, same thing. So this is why you see cameras with these kind of hoods that come out the front. They're also called matte boxes, and you can drop in like a filter, which is a bit old school filmmaking. But yeah, so it's just to remove all incidental light, so you don't get flares, you don't get image artifacts, you don't get hazing. It's just to make everything nice and clear. And so you can get that on a spotting scope, and I suppose technically you could get them on a set of binoculars. There's a very slight gap there. It's probably only about 1.5 centimeters. That's why the lenses don't come. It's also to protect them just from bumps and scratches, but they're not recessed very far. I suppose technically you could put more out, but then that kind of gets a bit cumbersome. I would love someone to make the contact lenses to go on binoculars, so people with eye issues can get a super perfect image. It's probably not enough money in it, but anyway, it certainly would be doable. But anyway, so that's why this has that on the end of it, and that's what lens hoods and flaring are all about. So it's starting to rain, so I've got to pack up quickly. So that's it, guys. Have a great day. Okay, see you then. Bye.